What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Brandawg's broadcast. I'm just kidding, that was fake. I edited it in. But could you imagine if I had one of those obnoxious soundboards or whatever? Except if I had like a soundboard, it wouldn't be like the normal sound effects. It would be just like a bunch of untraditional but recognizable ones. Like if a guest said something funny, I would go to press a button that they would think would be a laugh track, but instead it would just be an audio of that dude going, "Oh, great heavens." No, what I should really get is a button that will momentarily pause the broadcast in case I say something offensive or racist, that I can get someone to pause off screen, and then I'll yell at them every time they pause it, even though I paid them to do that. Because I do actually have some opinions on that, and I don't really like to talk about internet drama that much these days because it just doesn't seem worth it for like the amount of flack that your channel will get. Just because you have an opinion on like a channel that's bigger than you, God forbid. Like I used to do commentary videos when I was a teenager, and having that channel is still easily the worst like hate and fucking just pretty much being attacked that I've ever gotten on the internet before. So like whenever I get nasty hate comments nowadays, I can kind of just ignore them a little bit better, because holy shit, dude, 14-year-old me was getting told to kill himself like every fucking day by fully grown adults. It was crazy. And in case you're wondering, no, I wasn't really making anything offensive or anything. I wasn't making like leafy type commentary videos where I was just bullying someone or some shit like that. What I was doing was talking about very popular but controversial but still very popular and beloved by their fan base people like Tom McDonald or Bill Maher, because I don't really agree with a lot of the way those guys present themselves, and I got so much flack for both of those. The Tom McDonald one especially, his fans are insane. I think that's like a well-known thing now. It's like much more the popular opinion to think Tom McDonald sucks than that he's good these days, which is great because goddamn. But yeah, no, they absolutely were not happy with me. I can't really remember anything that they said in particular, but they were not happy. They did not like that I implied that Tom McDonald was racist sometimes. Like, I don't really know what people expect from that, though. They're like, every time I see that, they're like, people get so defensive of people like doing or like saying things that are kind of racist, because they'll just be like, oh, well, they never said that they're racist. Like, you can't prove that they're racist. And it's like, brother, what racist comes out and says, yeah, I'm a racist, by the way? When does that ever happen? When does someone just go like, yeah, I'm super racist? They never say that. It's always about their actions and the way that they talk about other races that you could tell if they have some biases against them or not. And Bill Maher fans too, they were very intense. They were all like 40, 50-year-old fully grown adults, and they were like coming and harassing me when I was like a teenager. Like I guess I look older than I think, because I don't know, I always feel like you can check out that channel still. Some of those videos are still public. It's called Brandino, I think. But I feel like in a lot of those videos I look like a teenager, and I sound like one too, but they were like talking to me like I was some fully grown adult almost. There was people being like, fuck you probably live with your parents still. And I was like, yeah, I'm fucking 16, dog. Of course I live with my parents. Like, why is that? What the fuck is that? I had a really weird one too, where some guy was like questioning on if he thought I was a virgin or not based off my video or something. He was like, how often you guys think this kid gets lucky? I bet he hasn't gotten lucky since he came out of vagina. And he didn't really get the response he was looking for. I think he thought people were going to be like, yeah, but even the people who didn't like me and who were mad at me in that comment section, they thought that was weird. They were like, why are we over here talking about this like random teenager sex life? You know, that's not our business. Also, that's weird. And then they just moved back on to normal disagreeing with me again. Semi-normal, anyway. At least the Bill Maher fans aren't cool with fucking talking about teenagers' sex lives, which I guess is good. That's like the bare minimum. I will say here, though, that it's another one of those situations where I feel like iDubbbz is getting a lot of hate for something that's really not that big of a deal. He's pretty much just like telling someone, yeah, sorry, I'm not going to immediately side and agree with you on everything just because we've been friends in the past before, especially since Ethan's being kind of a fucking asshole, just like absolutely lampooning him and his wife Anissa all the time on his podcast. It's like nobody really wants to agree with that. I didn't know that people still liked Ethan from H3H3. Like, I saw a lot of people coming to his support and his defense in this one, and I thought that, like, pretty much everybody agreed nowadays that he sucked. Like, it's been over for me since, like, he showed his true colors with that, like, whole Palestine genocide conflict going on right now. That he's really showing his true colors there. Like, it's like Idov said, where I can understand why right now in America he would be on edge and he would be more defensive, but at the same time he is really, really painting everybody who is Palestinian or just from that place in general as some kind of monster. It's very uncomfortable to watch, and it's very, very one-sided, you can tell. I'm not a fan of that. As you could probably tell from the title, this episode is once again primarily about horror because I've been on a massive horror kick these last few months. I'm always in the horror. That's like my primary thing that I go to see every year in the theaters, but it's like really, I get into it like every few months. I get really into horror movies again. And what I wanted to do today was kind of try my best to recommend a horror movie I like from every type of like major horror genre, and even some smaller ones too. Like, I have a whole list here. I guarantee it's not every single specific genre and subgenre of horror, but so I might have to do another part on this. So forgive me if you don't see like a really specific one here, but I feel like I've got a lot of the broad categories completely locked down. So this is kind of inspired by that. I don't know if he still does it or not, but Papa Meat and Wendy Goon. Should I say his name right? Yeah, Wendy Goon, I think. They were doing this series for a few years where like every Halloween they would recommend like 31 horror movies to watch every day for that month leading up to Halloween. And I thought that was a really cool idea. I might do that with like a friend as well on the podcast when Halloween rolls around. But as of right now, it's not Halloween and I'm by myself. So so what I'm going to do instead is try to recommend you guys a horror movie that I like from every genre. If maybe you haven't seen some of these, maybe you have, you can check some out and you can recommend some to me that you think that I'd be interested in. You're like, yeah, it's just a fun time to talk about horror movies again. So let's get into the start of this list, a horror movie from every genre. The first genre I have written down as one of my favorites ever, which is just the simple classic monster genre. I feel like we've been seeing a pretty good resurgence of monster-related stuff in the last few years. Everybody knows about Ratma. VHS has been doing a lot of cool creature designs in general. Ratma was really cool. That thing from The Ritual was really cool, even though I wasn't huge on that movie. The thing from Smile kind of looks like to me anyway, it kind of looks like when Krabby Patty what am I saying? The monster from Smile to me kind of looks like the Krusty Krab hot dog, if that makes sense, but he's still very cool and interesting, especially in the second one when he's like 10 times larger than he was in the first movie. But yeah, we've been seeing a lot of cool monster stuff, and one of the films that I felt like really, really brought back this genre in a strong way the last few years was Barbarian. I'm very glad that Zach Cregger's next movie's coming out soon, because originally, because of all the writer strikes and all this stuff, it was set for like 2026, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna have to wait till 2026 to see Jordan Peele's next movie and Zach Cregger's. But luckily 2026 is when his Resident Evil reboot is coming out, but this year we're getting Weapons, so it's like a win-win. Yeah, Weapons looks really cool. I love how vague the trailers have been lately. A lot of people seem excited for that, and rightfully so. I think it's going to eat ass in a good way. Zach Cregger's first real delve into the horror genre came 3 years ago with Barbarian, which was fucking awesome. I remember seeing the trailers for that movie and thinking it was like going to be kind of a standard like hostage kidnap kind of horror movie, and then I watched it because I heard that there was some kind of crazy twist about halfway through, and yeah, wow. It really, really lives up to that summary. That movie completely takes a turn from what you're expecting it to be into this wholly new, untapped territory, and it's fucking awesome. It kind of reminds me of The Descent, but like Yeah, kind of like a modern version of The Descent. It kind of reminds me of Jeepers Creepers as well, for some reason, probably just because Justin Long's in it and he loses his eyeballs. Spoiler alert, but um, very good movie. Loved it. Watched it a few times. One of my favorite horror movies in 2022. Probably my second favorite, right behind Nope. I thought it was great. And that is actually the movie that I'm recommending now for Monster Flicks. If you haven't seen Barbarian yet, you should treat yourself to a very simple yet very satisfying and rewarding short little monster horror movie. It's very cool. Sorry for kind of spoiling that it's a monster movie if you haven't seen it. But yeah, very cool. This is also like a side recommendation, I guess, because I just really like monster movies. But you should check out shit like Pumpkinhead as well. And Jeepers Creepers is good. Maybe wait till Victor Salva dies in a few years to watch that one, though, because the creator of those movies is a major pedophile. Moving on to slasher, one of my personal favorite horror genres of all time, because it's just so simple yet so fun for me. Every time I see a new slasher movie get announced, I get excited. Like this year, we're getting a few this year, which makes me very excited. Earlier, they just dropped as I'm filming this, earlier today, they dropped the trailer for the new Fear Street Prom Queen, which looks really fun. I wasn't expecting it to be a slasher because the other ones kind of were, but I'm glad to report that it is. I think it looks really good. And then I Know What You Did Last Summer is coming back, and that looks really fun as well. I'm a big fan of that first movie. I think it's classic 90s cheesy horror fun. Even if it isn't the greatest thing of all time, it's a lot of fun. You got fucking Hard Eyes, man. I haven't seen it yet, but Hell of a Summer looks like a lot of fun. And now Finn Wolfhard and Billy Brike, I think is how you say it. Maybe, I'm not sure. They're doing Idle Hands next, which should be interesting. Oh, and shit, that's the one I was trying to remember. Like, literally, like a week from now, as I'm recording this, Clown in a Cornfield comes out, and that one has great reviews so far. I think that one looks pretty fun. I'm interested to see where that one goes. Although, I can't lie, this is such a stupid complaint. The trailer of that movie kind of lost me a little bit with like the rotary phone joke, because it was like, the actors look like they're probably my age or older, but they're also, I think they're playing like teenagers or college kids. There's a scene where they're being chased or they're stuck in a basement or something. I can't really tell what the context was. And they go to this phone and it's, fuck. They go to this phone and it's a rotary phone, and they're like looking at it and they're like, where are the buttons? And it's like, those jokes are just so fucking annoying to me, man, because they've been making those jokes forever. They've been making those jokes about, they made jokes about like that about millennials before they were ever making them about my generation, and they'll make them about the generation below us, you know? Because it's such a lazy bit to me, because it's like, a lot of people my age and even younger, I think, know what a rotary phone is. They at least know what it is, even if they don't know how to use it, and they can probably figure it out. It's not that confusing of a concept. Like, was this joke not already ironically murdered and buried when fucking Ellen DeGeneres did a whole segment on it one time? Like, come on, let the meme die. But this movie looks like a lot of fun. But the slasher I want to recommend today is an older, more lesser known one, I feel. But if you know it, you probably like it. It's definitely a bit of a cult classic. It is Michel Suave's first horror movie. If you don't know who that is, he was like a protege to Dario Argento, the guy who made Suspiria and a bunch of other classics. He was like learning under him, and this was his first solo directorial debut, Stage Fright, or as it's known like overseas, Aquarius. This movie fucking rules, man. This is a definition of like a classic good slasher. It's not just like fun in a cheesy dumb way. It's like genuinely good. The kills are interesting. It's suspenseful. The killer has this cool, interesting design that's very memorable, and I actually really liked a lot of the characters. Some of them start off as complete assholes, but by the end you even kind of like the worst of them and you want to see them live, but a lot of them don't, obviously. But yeah, I won't spoil too much about this movie because this is supposed to be recommendations after all, not just me blabbering about them. But great killer, great kills, great setting. I love the setting of it being all on like the set of them trying to wrap production on another play or whatever. Like they're trying to get this shit ready before it airs in a week, and they're not fucking prepared. And then they just so happen to basically get visited by this fucking serial killer who sees one of the actors in the hospital and just becomes obsessed with her and follows her back to set and just murders all of these motherfuckers. I love simple premises like that, where it's not like anything major or groundbreaking or like some kind of big twist about why this person's evil. It's just, here's this motherfucker, he's evil and he's gonna kill you now, and that's basically all you get to learn about him. I don't even remember if you see the guy's face at any point. Very simple, very effective, if you know what I mean. And I'd also recommend his other movies. He only ever did like 4 movies, and I think that they're all great. He did Stage Fright, then he went on to do The Church, which was originally, I just found this out recently because of like a Matt Draper Letterboxd review, I think, so shout out to him. But this movie was originally meant to be like Demons 3, and then they didn't end up doing it, so Michel Zavi, I believe it was him, took the script and basically turned it into something new, which is what The Church is, and he directed it, and I think it's a fun, really good time. Very much a slow burn, so take that as you will. The first 2 halves of this movie take their fucking time, that's for sure. It takes its fucking time. The movie's almost 2 hours, so it definitely drags at points. But when it gets into that third act and it just gets fucking crazy, it gets really good, and it's probably one of my favorite 80s horror films in general, because I just love it so much. It's so simple yet so beautifully shot and interesting. It's probably my favorite Michel Zavi film as well. Either this or Stage Fright. I can really go back and forth. And then he has The Sect, which I haven't seen yet because it just recently became available to watch on like AMC Plus, so I'm gonna watch it eventually. It looks really cool. And then he has Cemetery Man, which is kind of more like a really black comedy horror film, very wacky, strange film, but very likable. It's often considered to be his best. I'd recommend it. So yeah, go watch Stage Fright if you want to watch a good slasher movie this year or whatever. The next one is psychological horror. This one's a little bit harder for me to pick because, to be honest, while I feel like psychological horror has had some heavy hitters that I love over the years, it's never been like a go-to of mine. There's a lot of ones that work well for me. I get why people like it, but it's always worked better in other mediums for me, almost like psychological horror games or even like an ARG or something. That tends to be more unique and interesting to me than a lot of the movies are. But if I had to pick an underrated one from the last few years, I could play it safe and pick like a really popular one, but I want to pick a lesser talked about one, which is Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. Some people might not consider this a horror movie, but I'd say it pretty... some people might not consider this a psychological horror movie, but I'd say it pretty much is, and I even like looked it up, and sources agree with me that it's pretty much a psychological horror flick. It's a lot of fun. It's got good directing, obviously, because it's from Edgar Wright. It has a really interesting setting that you can tell he researched very well before making the movie. Thomasin McKenzie is fucking brilliant in it, and so is Matt Smith. It's about this girl who wants to become a fashion designer, and she's living in this like shitty, rundown, I don't even know what to call it. It's just like she's like renting out the top stairs bedroom from this super old lady, and that's pretty much it. And every night when she goes to sleep, she wakes up back in like 1960s Soho, and she's this beautiful dancer. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I watched the movie. She becomes Anya Taylor-Joy basically, and she's getting fucking hit on by Matt Smith, who soon turns out to be like a fucking creep, and all this weird shit starts happening, and she's basically trying to piece together the mystery of like what happened back in Soho back then, like what happened to this girl that Anya Taylor-Joy is playing, while also she's getting attacked by like these fucking ghosts of the past in the current day. It's very interesting, and the payoff is really good. I did not actually see the twist coming, and I thought it was handled very well. It's one of those that like when you look back on the whole movie, it's foreshadowed very well by Edgar Wright. He's always been really good at that. Like the movie Shaun of the Dead is pretty much just 90% foreshadowing. But yeah, I recommend this one a lot. People didn't love it as much as his other films, which I can understand. It's not my favorite Edgar Wright film by any means, but I'm very glad that he's like dipping his his foot into horror, I guess, because he's always had this great sense for horror, but it's never been fully focused on. I feel like it's always kind of hidden behind the comedy. But yeah, I'd recommend that for sure. And this year he's doing a remake of The Running Man, a new adaptation starring Glenn Powell, and I'm really excited for that. Can't wait to see that movie. A supernatural movie that I really recommend is Talk to Me from a few years ago. This one was done by the Filippo. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I don't remember how to say it. Felipe brothers. You know, they're from YouTube. You might know them from there. Raka Raka. I remember watching them all the time when I was younger. They've always been really good with like action and special effects. And now they're taking their talents to the big screen. Well, they did already. They're about to release their second film soon, Bring Her Back, which looks very, very promising. Very excited for that. And but a few years ago, they did their directorial debut, Talk to Me, which was fucking awesome. I think it's a great horror movie. It's one of my favorites of 2023, right behind When Evil Lurks. This movie turned out great, and it did really well, which is awesome. I'm super proud of these guys from watching them as a kid and all their cool content. To seeing them go to this is quite the jump, and it's so fucking cool that they were successful immediately like that. Some people are just literally born to direct horror movies and movies in general, I feel, and they were definitely in that boat. They did the jump from comedy to horror so well, just like Jordan Peele and Zach Cregger before them. But this movie is very interesting. If you haven't seen it, it's about like this group of teenagers that have this weird fucking hand. It's like a weird porcelain hand thing that reaches out to you like this. I believe they sold it as a bong. When the movie came out as like merch, you could get a bong of it, which is cool. I so wish that I got that. But basically the way it works is you take this thing's hand and you say, talk to me. And it allows spirits to basically present themselves to you. It's a very interesting metaphor for drug and substance abuse when you're younger, and when you're also extremely depressed and traumatized like the main character is. I won't spoil too much, obviously. But yeah, it gets crazy immediately. The ghosts and demons start to follow the main character, and she starts to see them all the time, not just when she's fucking holding that weird hand or whatever. Very cool movie, very interesting execution. One of my favorites of 2023, and I can't wait to see Bring Her Back. Bring these guys back for another movie after that one, you know what I'm saying? I can't wait for Talk to Me as well. They're doing a sequel, which I just love that name so much for some reason. It's so cheesy, it's so fun. Some people seemed mad about it. Like, how can you be angry about some wordplay that's that fun? And then we're in body horror. I don't watch that much body horror, but the body horror that I have seen, I really like The Fly and stuff like that. But I want to recommend one of my favorites, and I'm recommending one film, but I'm also technically recommending a whole trilogy by doing this. You should watch, if you haven't seen it before, Reanimator. Oh my god, I fucking love Reanimator. This is a Stuart Gordon movie who also made like From the Beyond and Dolls and other old cheesy fun movies like that I just love. This is probably my favorite of his movies, if I had to say. Like, I really enjoyed From the Beyond as well, but sorry, I think it's just From Beyond. I don't know why I'm saying From the Beyond. I really enjoyed that one, but Reanimator is just a fucking classic, man. It's a simple old monster body horror movie about this scientist who creates this weird green serum that you've definitely seen at some point over the years, because that visual is just iconic. It was an H-Bomber guy thumbnail at one point, I think. But yeah, he basically uses this serum to try to create his own fucking freaky Frankensteins in a way. He like merges body parts back together and injects them with this serum, and it brings them back as these like fucked up zombie Frankenstein monster kind of things. And it's a really violent and stylized movie. It's very funny, surprisingly, and it doesn't waste your time. It's genuinely one of my favorite horror movies from the 80s. I think it's a fucking blast, and I think everybody should watch this movie. And then there was a violently underrated sequel called Bride of Reanimator, done by Brian Yuzna, director of Society. I think I personally like this movie even more, which is surprising because the first one is just really that solid. This one fully embraces the camp and the goof of the first one. It's a lot funnier and a lot sillier. It's also very quick paced and doesn't waste your time. It's also a lot gayer, and I mean that in kind of a good way. If you enjoy horror movies with strong unintentional gay undertones, such as Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, then you would probably really like this movie. But Bride of Reanimator is exactly what it sounds like. He's trying to like bring back this woman who's very important to one of the characters. I won't say more than that. Shit goes wrong as it did before, obviously, and things get even worse. All three of these movies have Jeffrey Combs, obviously, who's fucking great, but this is the last one that has Bruce Abbott, which is a little disappointing because him and Jeffrey Combs had this awesome dynamic together. They were a very good duo, and I wish that they had done more projects like this in the past. It's a shame that he didn't return for the third movie. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's just because he saw the script and he knew that Reanimator 3 Beyond Reanimator just kind of fucking sucks. It's nowhere near as good as the first two, and it came out like way after the other ones. It has a different lead character, which is not as memorable. I don't even really remember who plays him. Jeffrey Combs is doing his best, but they don't really give him as much interesting material to work with. He kind of seems bored in a lot of this movie. But if you enjoyed the zany ridiculousness of the first two, then you'll probably like this movie as well. It is just ridiculous fun. It is probably more violent than the first two, honestly. It's really gory and gross. And at in the end credits of this movie there's a rat, like, shadow boxing. Well, it's not shadow box, and you can see the shadows of it, but you see this rat boxing a severed zombie penis. So that's the kind of movie we're dealing with here. But yeah, fun trilogy. I definitely recommend it if you've never seen it before. But keeping in the vein of dead things coming back to life, the zombie genre is one that I have seen more films than I could fucking tell you from. I've been obsessed with zombies ever since I was a little kid. Longer than I've been into horror as a whole, I've liked zombies. I watched Shaun of the Dead and stuff like Zombieland when I was probably way too young to be watching stuff like that. But I loved it, man. I absolutely love zombies. I've always loved them. I'm not tired of them still to this day. Like, I've seen so many people be like, oh, I'm so tired of zombies. I remember in like the 2010s, there was a big zombie game epidemic, as you might know. There was a lot of zombie games back then, and there were people who were like not happy about that. I remember that was a big Angry Joe bit even, where he was like, I can't play a fucking zombie game. And it's like, why not? They're all pretty different and they're all pretty fun. Well, not all of them. A lot of zombie games suck, but there's some pretty interesting ones out there, like Dead Rising and even Dead Island to some extent. Dying Light is great. Left 4 Dead is great, but we're not talking about video games. We're talking about movies. And the zombie movie I want to recommend today is a classic. I kind of wanted to do a micro recommendation as well if you like older zombie movies and you haven't seen this one. So I'll do this one real quick. That movie is called The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. I think it might have a different name overseas, or like that was its name overseas and it has a different name here. I can't remember. But this is a zombie movie from the 70s. It predates Dawn of the Dead even though I'm sure it was very, very inspired by Night of the Living Dead. Most of it takes place in the countryside of like somewhere in England. I don't really remember that well, where everyone's trying to figure out like what the fuck's going on, what's with all these gruesome murders, what's with these weird, shambling, violent people going around. And it all comes to this insane conclusion at the morgue. That's why it's called that, obviously. But you don't really see that much of the morgue. It's more just the zombies taking over like the entire fucking hospital building. Very cool, very gruesome, classic 70s zombie movie. I recommend it. But the best zombies movie from the 70s, and probably one of the best zombie movies ever made, which you probably know where I'm going with this, is George Romero's second zombie effort, Dawn of the Dead. George A. Romero is a personal favorite director of mine ever since, because I've known of him ever since I was a kid, and I've been a big fan of his zombie work. But I've also, in the last like 5 years, been trying to branch out into seeing his other films. I really loved Martin. I thought The Crazies was really interesting, even though it's kind of a slow burn and not as good as like something like Dawn of the Dead. Monkey Shines is kind of stupid, but I enjoyed the premise a lot. Like a monkey-based slasher movie is just so dumb to me. His work is so interesting to me because he has done he did so many films in his life. He did so many horror films too. It's a lot of horror, and it is all over the fucking place, man. Some of it is just straight dookie, like Diary of the Dead. Some of them are just straight weird, like Dreamland or whatever it's called, but that one's really interesting too. And some of them, like Martin, will make you pretty fucking uncomfortable even to this day, but I'll save talking about that one because it comes up again on this list. But Dawn of the Dead is one of my favorite horror movies ever made. It's one of my favorite movies in general because I just feel like even as it ages and the effects get more older and certain things about it feel dated, I guess, it's just such a fun, unique, and exciting movie to me. It's such a fucking journey the first few times you watch it, man. Like, it's one of those things where it's like the story and everything that happens in it is relatively simple, but it's done in such a fun and exciting way that you wonder, like, damn, how did someone come up with all this much fun shit, and how did they pull off all this shit back in the 70s? But yeah, I'm sure a lot of you've seen that, but if you haven't seen it, go do yourself a favor and watch that. And also check out the Zack Snyder remake because it's surprisingly fun. It doesn't try to, like, redo the first movie in a way that's annoying like other remakes. Like it does its own thing entirely, and I feel like it's good for it. But I've just realized how long I've been going on for already, and I'm only halfway through this list, so I'm going to try to speed things up a little bit now. Next up is werewolf movies. Ginger Snaps is probably my favorite ever, so it's going to be that one. I still have yet to see An American Werewolf in London. I know. How can I call myself a werewolf fan and not have seen that movie? I'll get around to it, okay? But Ginger Snaps is great. Silver Bullet is cheesy, Stephen King, 80s fun. It's kind of dumb, but if you like that kind of stuff, you'll really like it probably. Fuck Bad Moon. I still don't like that movie. That movie really let me down. Werewolf movies are very hit or miss like that, especially like look at Wolfman, right? That one just came out. Very hit or miss movie. It has some good elements, it has some bad, but ultimately it's just okay. They made another werewolf movie last year called just like Werewolves that I haven't seen yet, but like that one as well, as you can probably tell from what people have said about it, very mixed, which is unfortunate. Werewolf movies should be better. Werewolves are cool, and I feel like it shouldn't be this hard to make a good werewolf movie. Honestly, you want my second pick behind this one, Brotherhood of the Wolf, has been called a Bloodborne movie almost, and I can kind of see that, honestly. It's really fucking cool. It's violent as hell. The action is sick. It's like really cool. It's almost gothic horror, so I could almost have put that in the gothic horror category, so I could switch that answer, honestly, because I don't even fucking remember what I put in that category. Yeah, I'll probably talk more about that one in a second. I think I'm going to switch my answer. I just put Hellraiser. Hellraiser's good, but like, that's not, like, that was just a safe bet for that one. But yeah, go check out Ginger Snaps for sure. Sick ass movie, really cool characters, really cool aesthetic. That early 2000s cheesy horror aesthetic does it super well, and I feel like it's surprisingly dark, and the subject matter is handled very well. Watched it with Avery, and we both loved it, so you guys should check it out too. I'll be right back because I'm about to piss my fucking pants. I just drank 2 coffees. Is Super Mega not super enough for you? Do you find the slushy noobs a little too slushy? And are the Game Grumps just too damn old? Then go on down to Auburn Rats and watch 2 ginger boys have the times of their lives. Warning, we cannot actually guarantee that you will have the time of your life while watching Auburn Rats. Everything in this ad has been a joke. Please do not sue us. Next up on the list, we're going to talk about some demon movies, and for demon-based movies, I have the movie Demons and its sequel, Demons 2. I just mentioned these when I was talking about The Church a minute ago. If you like Evil Dead, you will love these movies. I'm not even just saying that. I'm serious. If you love the first 2 Evil Deads especially, and you wanted more movies from the 80s that kind of replicate that well, then you gotta check out Demons, especially the first one. This shit is Evil Dead on crack. You think Evil Dead is fucking crazy? These movies are fucking crazy, man. They're violent. They're interesting. God, they're so good. I love these movies. Demons 1 surprised me so much when I watched it. I thought it was just gonna be like some standard Evil Dead kind of inspired movie, but it blew me the fuck away with how interesting it was. It all takes place in a movie theater. They're watching this horror movie, and it like comes to life somehow. I can't remember exactly, but like the demons in the film come out into the theater and start spreading amongst the crowd and killing people, and you watch as these people are murdered one by one pretty much violently. Some are turned into demons, some are just straight killed, and the finale of this movie is absolutely fucking insane. I don't want to spoil it. It just gets so crazy. You gotta watch this movie. It's so good. And for folk horror, I don't watch a lot of folk horror, so I wanted to kind of go with a slightly different answer than the popular ones that I have seen. So I went with Gretel and Hansel, Oz Perkins' third movie, I believe. This movie is definitely not the same as like the last two he just made. So if you're more a fan of like the long legs and the monkey type of Osgood Perkins that I like me, then this one isn't exactly that. I'd even say at points it's pretty fucking slow, even though the movie is quite short. It's like a little bit less than an hour and a half, I think, or maybe just a little bit over. It's quite short, which is good. I think more horror movies should be just an hour and a half. But the casting is good. The aesthetic is fucking awesome. The movie is shot super well, and it's very pretty to look at. The witch herself is super creepy and super well done. Really good performance. Yeah, I think if you like folk horror, if you like things that fit into this kind of vibe, stuff like Sleepy Hollow or strange things like The Lighthouse, then this is something that you'll probably enjoy. It's one of those movies that would have done better if it was made by like A24 or something, because it's like weird and untraditional. So like a lot of people just kind of didn't see it, or they overlooked it and never checked it out. But if it was an A24 movie, so many people would have watched it, because for whatever reason, people seem to think A24 is like this committee of geniuses who just like, they all sit around a table or something and they're like, okay, what epic movie are we going to make now, guys? And then someone else is just like, I got it. Paul Rudd unicorn horror movie. And they're like, great, let's make it. That's not what A24 is. It seems like that's what some people think it is, though. Like, it's like a big team of people who make all of these movies they put out. It's not. It's just like a production company. They find these indie projects and they give them money. That's pretty much what they do. They give them money so that they could put their logo on it, and they can help the production in that sense. But yeah, they're not just over here making these fucking movies, because I keep seeing like new A24 trailers drop for random indie flicks, and people are like, A24's been really missing with some of the movies they've been making lately. And it's like, that's how they've always been. They don't just make these big fucking masterpieces you see. They're a production company and they produce movies. Some of them are going to be bad. That's just how it goes. But Gothic, yeah, I was just mentioning this 1 second ago. My new recommendation for Gothic horror, even though I'm not entirely sure how much it fits into that, is Brotherhood of the Wolf. If you like werewolves, if you like Bloodborne, if you like cool Gothic horror movies with a lot of action, this movie is made for you. That's all I'm really going to say about it, because that's all you should really know, because just from like that description alone, the right people are going to be interested in this movie. And now we're at horror comedy. Horror comedy is an interesting subgenre. It has potential to be some of my favorite movies ever, and also sometimes it's just kind of like shitty. Like you in this genre, you can see things like Shaun of the Dead, but you also get stuff like The Babysitter 2 or whatever the fuck that was. That movie was horrible. And I could be safe and recommend Shaun of the Dead, but I feel like that's one that pretty much everyone has seen at this point, and everybody likes that movie. We've been getting a lot of good horror comedies this year, such as Hard Eyes and The Monkey. Both of those I really, really enjoyed. But I want to go a little bit different. I'll go a little bit more 90s, a little bit more cult classic-y. This one is not for everybody, but I'm going to recommend Idle Hands. I just mentioned that Finn Wolfhard and Billy Brike, I think his name is, sorry again if it's not right, are doing a remake of this movie. But the original is definitely memorable, and it's definitely worth checking out. It is a stoner horror comedy, which is exactly as strange as you would think it is. It's not like pure fucking garbage like something like Evil Bong is, though. It's like, it's good. It's bad, but it's like, it's up there, you know? Like, it's bad in the sense of like these older stoner comedies that are still fun to watch, like Half Baked or How High or whatever. Side note, what the fuck was How High 2? I watched that movie on MTV when it aired because I was fucking dog sitting and I didn't have anything else to do. And I kind of think Lil Yachty's a little funny, but what the fuck was that movie? That movie was nothing like the first one. It didn't have anything to do with like them actually going to school. it was just like them running around trying to figure out how to find this like magical weed or something fucking stupid like that. And it was a very short movie too. But yeah, Idle Hands is good. It has Seth Green in it, and he's pretty good. Now we're getting into some interesting ones. For sci-fi, I'm going to go a little bit newer and recommend VHS Beyond. This came out in 2024, and it's probably one of the best VHS movies. It's really interesting. I didn't love all of the entries, obviously. Like, you're never gonna with anthology movies. There's always going to be like one or two that you have mixed feelings on. But for the most part, this was just such an impressive feat of stories. They brought together an insane group of talented individuals. They brought back some people who had worked on previous VHS movies, and it creates this new collection of interesting, exciting sci-fi horror. I love that they went with the sci-fi horror theme this time around. But for Cosmic, I have The Beyond. Ironically, both Beyonds. This movie is fucking so cool. I feel like not enough people know about this one these days. A lot of people won't watch older horror movies from like the 70s because of that reason, which is so stupid. Just like watch it. A lot of them are still really good and hold up and are very unsettling. A lot of tropes in classic horror movies that get like credited to the 80s were actually the 70s. I always see people be like, oh, this straight up reminded me of an 80s horror movie, dude, about something like When Evil Lurks, and it's like, no, dude, you mean 70s. You mean that 70s fucking Italian shit. You mean some fuck stuff like that. And The Beyond is definitely in that vein. If you like freaky, strange, violent Italian horror, this one is probably my favorite. It's really fucking cool. I couldn't recommend it enough. It's made by the same guy who did City of the Living Dead. It was directed by Lucio Fulci, who also did Zombie, the like half sequel thing to Dawn of the Dead, which is surprisingly good, even though it's kind of a slow, weird one. And like I said, he did City of the Living Dead. He also did The House by the Cemetery, which is I had some mixed feelings on that one, because I feel like it doesn't live up to these other two. If you want, his two best movies are easily City of the Living Dead and The Beyond, so just watch those primarily, and if you like those, you can check out his other work. But yeah, very cool, very interesting cosmic horror thing where they find this like weird portal to hell, or this like hellish, strange alternate dimension in the basement of this rundown shitty hotel building. Very, very cool movie. Super freaky, very good gore effects, especially for the time. I couldn't recommend this one more. Just talking about it makes me want to watch it again. And then ironically, for Lovecraft, after The Beyond, I have From Beyond, which I've mentioned a few times in this. No, they don't have anything to do with each other. They just happen to have similar names. From Beyond is another Stuart Gordon movie who did Reanimator. It also stars Jeffrey Combs again and Ken Foree, which is a surprisingly good group of people. There's only like 3 main actors in this whole movie. I don't remember the actress's name, please forgive me, but she also does a really good job. It all takes place in this old like weird rundown house as they're trying to create this machine in the attic that will basically allow them to see into other dimensions in a way. I don't remember exactly what they're doing. It's shit gets freaky though, fast. There's some very insane body horror in this movie. There's some really cool special effects that have aged super well. It's one of those things that I feel like it's kind of like The Thing or Hellraiser in the sense of like uncomfortable, crazy special effects for monsters from the 80s that have aged so well. Even at the time, it's like, how did you do that, you know? Next up is witchcraft-based horror movies. Like Red Old Hotzel would technically fit in this category, and The Craft is a pretty good one, but I'm gonna go with Drag Me to Hell. I know this isn't technically your like traditional type of witchcraft movie, but I really like this one. It's a return to horror for Sam Raimi after he had spent so many years doing Spider-Man. Like, this came out only a year after Spider-Man 3, and I feel like it was overlooked by a lot of people. It is the kind of cheesy fun it's the kind of cheesy fun horror that you've come to expect from Sam Raimi ever since like Evil Dead 2. It may not be on the level of his original work in that sense, but it is just a lot of fun, especially if you like Sam Raimi or you like early 2000s horror in general, which I'm a big fan of. Next up is holiday themed horror movies, and there's a lot of holiday themed horror movies, but I'm going to go more recent and probably my favorite, Hard Eyes. Hard Eyes was so much fucking fun. Like, that's the only way that I can really think to summarize this movie sometimes. I try to say more, and then I catch myself saying that it was fun in a slightly different way. Mason Gooding as Jay is fucking incredible. I'm so glad that he's like a leading role in a movie and instead of just a supporting character, because I feel like he definitely has leading role potential. He's so funny, he's so charismatic, and he tears up every movie he's in. Olivia Holt does a really great job. I feel like if this character was played by anyone else, it wouldn't have been as interesting. Their dynamic was really good as well. The kills are exactly what I want from a slasher, where they're violent, but they're not like gory to the point where it makes you uncomfortable, like Terrifier. It doesn't feel like some kind of weird snuff film. It's just trying to have fun, like the same way that the classic Friday the 13th movies did. And I love this movie's pacing too. It does not waste your time, and it felt like a Scream film that all took place on the same night, which is something that I've always wanted them to do, and it worked really well in this sense. I've seen some people hate on this. I've seen some really dumb criticisms of it on like Letterboxd. I saw somebody say it was like a Gen Z Scream, which I don't really see that at all. I see, if anything, it's more millennial Scream because it's made by Josh Rubin, who's in his 30s or 40s. It has a lot of millennial-based humor, and the main actors in it are millennials, I'm pretty sure. Like that coffee shop scene, that is straight up a parody of like a millennial rom-com. But I don't understand this trend anyway of people always wanting to blame any like new hip thing that they don't understand on Gen Z. Like this, like someone just didn't like this movie and that's fine, but like they're like, it must be that Gen Z shit I don't understand. Like, no, bro, it's just a movie that you didn't like. Like I think people also forget that Gen Z, we're like adults now. We've been adults. The oldest people in Gen Z are like 26, 27. They're pushing 30, and like we still get talked about as if we're the children still. That's Gen Alpha you're thinking of. Skibbity toilet, Riz, shit like that. That's not really Gen Z. That's Gen Alpha, because Gen Alpha, in case you guys are forgetting, it is pretty shocking because time just fucking like flies, and it's kind of crazy that these kids born in like 2010 or 15 now, like those are the teenagers now. You got to remember, guys, that's as crazy as it seems. Gen Alpha, who were just babies not that long ago, are fucking teenagers now, and they're the ones who are all these memes, not me. All right, stop blaming my generation for everything just because we're the new punching bag in place of millennials. You know, have you ever noticed that? Whenever it always reaches a point, whoever is in their early 20s and late teens is the new punching bag of society for that time. Next up for dark fantasy, I have Army of Darkness. Dark fantasy is another one of those genres that I really don't know that much about. I haven't seen that many things from it, and therefore there might be things in that genre that I know of and recognize, but I haven't seen them, so I'm not going to list them, obviously, because how could I recommend a movie I haven't seen? But Army of Darkness technically qualifies as dark fantasy, and I'm going to go with that one because I really like that movie. That movie's funny, the movie's well shot, that movie's pacing is great. It's a really interesting and memorable conclusion to that original Evil Dead trilogy, and I don't really think that there's going to be another movie made like this, like in this exact style, this crazy popular horror movie ever again. Like this was Sam Raimi's lightning in a bottle, that's for sure. Or maybe that was Evil Dead 2, because he even kind of fails to recapture the vibe of Evil Dead 2 sometimes in this one. Evil Dead 2 will never be replicated fully. That movie is 100% its own thing. It is of its own volition. It is not human. It is alive, but it's not human. It has a conscience. And I know that there's been people who have like gone out of their way to actually edit these all together into one big thing because of the rights problems they had back in the day. I'm sure you know about this. They couldn't just have Evil Dead 2 directly pick up where Evil Dead 1 left off. They had to like reestablish everything, basically remake the first movie but with two characters instead, and then go into the sequel, which is, it still works, but it's a little jarring, especially if you just watch the first movie. But it makes sense why they had to do it, and I'm really grateful that fans have made an ultimate cut before, because that's exactly what this trilogy needs. Next up is possession horror movies, and speaking of Evil Dead, I'm going to go with Evil Dead Rise. This is pretty much a possession movie. The mom gets possessed by these horrific deadites. This was, like, I had seen Evil Dead 1 before, but I never watched any of its sequels for some reason. And this was the first time I had ever seen any of these movies in theaters. And I still can't think of a movie that has made me more uncomfortable and genuinely afraid in a movie theater before than this one. I was on the edge of my seat the whole movie. I was genuinely uncomfortable, and like going home from the theater, it kind of lingered. That feeling of like dread and like actual fear of this movie lingered, and I haven't had that feeling since I was like a little kid, dude. It was exciting almost to be that scared by a horror movie again, and it almost immediately cemented it as one of my favorite horror movies of 2023. And probably my personal favorite Evil Dead movie. I can't wait to see how Evil Dead Burn turns out. But yeah, I can't recommend this one enough. And if you're one of those people who hate on this movie, you could suck on my nuts until they turn purple. Next up is splatter. Splatter's one of those genres that I don't really like. I almost forget that it is a genre because so much of it is just like other genres pretty much. But there's some splatter. It's got some garbage in it. Let's be real. Splatter is a lot of weird 80s gore fetish content, like that movie where that guy is just chopping women up with fucking chainsaws the whole time. That movie is straight up fucking really weird fetish content. Like you might be like, oh no, that's not that. I know it's like a strange thing to imply. It's hard to believe, but it's true. There's people who are into that kind of stuff, and that's why movies like that make me uncomfortable, and I don't really enjoy them. But if I had to pick a really good gore fest splatter kind of movie that I did like, I'm gonna have to go with Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead is probably my favorite splatter movie, and it's one of my favorite displays of visual gore effects in general to this day. A lot of this movie for the first few halves are kind of slow as they're all just in this bunker. It was meant to be completely different. It was meant to be a way more grand scale movie than Dawn of the Dead even, and I think the script is out there. You can read it. It's what I have read of it is really cool, and this is a side note as well. I would like a dream YouTube video of mine to make someday is to like do a dramatic reading of that script and hire different YouTubers and people who I'm friends with to voice act in it. And I also want to commission some art for like the scenes in question. You know what I mean? I think that would be a really fun YouTube video to make someday. It would be really hard and it would take a long time, but it would be very worth it if I could get it to turn out how I want. Because that way it would almost be like a version of the movie, but with no budget. It would be like somebody reading the script to you while also showing storyboards or something for a movie that hasn't come out yet. And I really want to do that. But the main appeal, the main meat and potatoes of this whole movie is the third act when the zombies get into the bunker. The zombie makeup in this movie is also really great, and every one of them is unique and memorable and kind of scary looking too. But when they get into that bunker, oh my god, shit hits the fan, man. They absolutely demolish the few people who live down in this bunker, and a lot of them fucking deserve it. So it's just fun to watch. It's not like uncomfortable. A lot of these military dudes are just straight up fucking evil in this movie and absolutely had their fates coming. Insane, violent death scenes, some of the most memorable kills I've seen in a zombie movie ever. And it works so well. You could tell Tom Savini was having a fucking heyday with the end of that movie. That was probably so much fun for him. And then the last genre I have written down for today is mystery. There's a lot of horror movies that could fall under mystery, and I think this one technically does too, so I'm going to put Nope. I almost put Scream, but I felt like it would have been too safe to recommend Scream, and everyone kind of knows that mystery already. But Nope, if you haven't seen it, which I know a lot of people have because it's a Jordan Peele movie, is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. One of my favorite movies in general, probably. The way it's shot, the casting, the score, the sound effects, dude, the monster design. I could have easily put this one for monster film as well, because it probably is my favorite monster film too. But I wanted to shout out Barbarian, and I also knew that this one could work really well in mystery. Because the mystery of this movie is ultimately the whole time, what the fuck is this thing? Is it a UFO? Is it something different? And the payoff is so worth it. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen this movie, but no voice crack, but goddamn, it is so good. It is one of the most unsettling horror movies I've seen in a theater. The monkey scene and the scene, or I guess he's a chimpanzee, isn't he? My bad. The chimp scene and the fucking scene with the, you probably know where I'm going with this one if you've seen it. The one, how do I describe it without spoiling it? the scene at the fair, let's just say that, where things go very, very south very quickly. But yeah, I absolutely love that movie. It's still my favorite Jordan Peele movie of the three we've got, and I can't wait to see what his next film is though, because it's probably, if it lives up to the hype that he's kind of building around it, it could be even better than Nope in my opinion. I think he said if he executes it how he's hoping to, it could be his favorite horror movie ever made. Not like his favorite movie he's made of his own, just in general. This is like his dream horror picture, and I'm so excited to see what that might be. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my list of different horror movies I recommend for all these different genres. This went on for quite some time, so I'm gonna wrap this up now. Thank you for watching another episode of Brandawg's Broadcast. I'll see you in the next episode of Brandawg's Broadcast. Peace out.